All right. Hey, how you guys doing? Hope you're having a great one. Hope you're having a good day. Happy Monday to you. Monday, March the 4th, 2024. As always, there's a lot going on and it just never stops. And I'm not talking about just the bad stuff. See, you thought I was just talking about bad things. No, I'm talking about good things too. And so it's just like time, man. It's just accelerating and just so much going on. And so we're going to snatch in that cloud, if you will, and we're going to pull out a couple of topics that we're going to talk about in this broadcast and things I think that are really important. I think we really need to consider and talk about and kind of meditate on, or whatever you do, and really get into this. So that's what we're going to do. So again, I hope you guys had a great one. We had a good weekend. I got a video coming up soon of just kind of a nice summary of my daughter and I. We went to another park that's nearby, man. I was like, man, I don't even have to go all the way up to Sedona. Sedona is about 2 hours from here, and it's known for its, mountains all over the place and valleys and stuff. Man, it's right around here. So it's like not even an hour away, which I knew, but I just never took just haven't had the time. And then we just had to make the time. Went there, and man, I tell you, it was beautiful. I mean, we were walking along this huge lake, and there's a river nearby, and then it's just mountains all over the place, and it's just so nice. And then my daughter and I, we were actually doing mini grounding in the lake, and that was fun. And just all these people out on the lake, they living their best life, man, on their little kayaks and stuff like that. So I came back with a full report from Nicole. So she said that she is game for heading there soon and us doing some kayaking. So we'll see. So you'll probably see a video of that as well. So I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, good to see everybody here. And like I said, glad to see. Hope you're having a wonderful one. So today, just to kind of give you an overview first, as we're diving into what this broadcast is going to be about, we're going to look at a couple of things. Number one, we're going to look at just the importance of setting up ethics in this age of AI, especially as it pertains to us as African Americans. And this is a very, very important topic. I honestly have not seen anybody really talk about it, but it is something that it needs to be discussed, and I hope it's discussed a lot more. But establishing a code of ethics is something, and I'm not saying I'm the one to do it. That's not the goal here, but at least to get people to think about it. And what I'm going to do is talk about what happens when you don't have something like that. Okay. And then we're going to get into it, and we're going to do a comparative with another group who has one, and you'll see what I mean. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about, we're going to talk about what religion has done to squelch ingenuity in the African American community, the Black community, what it has really done. And we want to think that religion helps with everything, but I'm here to tell you that when it comes to ingenuity, when it comes to building things and becoming, moving forward and progressing and all of that, but you're leaving enough breadcrumbs for the future generations to follow so that they can pick up where you left off and go even higher. Religion has failed us tremendously on that. And that's what we're going to talk about that as well. And then finally, we're going to get into some of the other projects that we've been working on. Besides, the last time I think I went, was it the last time I went live? I think it was, where we talked about how, over on Sommetry, which I'm going to mention here in a moment, and you may see a little bit of it. We actually created our own chat bot, if you will. And basically it's a place where you can come and ask just about, you can inquire about numbers of herbs if you're wanting to find out more about those herbs and what their uses are for and that kind of thing. That will be the place that you can come and find out that information. And so yeah, it's already been installed, it's running, and it's going great. I'll be adding a lot more to that. So that's one thing. But I also have something else it's even bigger than that. And I'm very excited about that. We'll be talking about that. And then we'll also talk about an app that I came across. It's not anything I did, but it's an app that I came across that I think you guys will find very helpful. And, I was just testing it just now, and I think you guys will definitely like this one. And so anyway, so that's what the broadcast is going to cover tonight. So I hope you hang around, stick in there with us, and hopefully we can get this thing chaptered out as well, so it'll make it a little bit easy for you guys to scroll around if you want to just jump to a certain topic. But anyway, let's get to first things first. We do, speaking of Sombertree, we do have a a flash sale that's going on right now over on Sombertree.com, and save 20% on all items listed under gardens and teas on our website. And the code, when you're checking out, the code is Samba Flash. Okay, it's right there. And so you save 20% off on fruit sea moss gels. I haven't even tried the strawberry. I like mango so much, I just stay stuck on mango. I literally have not tried the strawberry. I don't think I have. Strawberry, and then there's some other ones too. I just stay stuck on, I like what I like, mango. But these other ones, rest of our family tried these and they love them. They love the strawberry and the other ones. And so we got several flavors. And it's, when I say flavors, this is fruit infused. Literally, the person that makes them, they take the real fruit and then they mash them up or whatever, and then they mix it in with the sea moss. And 20% off of that. So if you're looking to get that, this is a good time to get it, because this is the last day and then that sale is over. Okay. 20% off of all teas. That's, so we're showing here real lemons and real ginger go into every pouch. So this is all teas, that this 20% sale that's going on right now. But she's just showcasing this one particular one. When we say lemon tea, that's what you get in it. It's real lemons, just like what you see in this picture here. That's what it looks like. Real lemons and real ginger. And that's what, do you get that in the store like that? No, they chop it up real fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I like chunks of stuff in my thing. I want to know that I know what I'm getting, and so we have that right there. Let's see. We also have the mullein leaf flower tea shreds. This is a great one too. This is a very good one. If you're suffering from anything like you got congestion or anything like that, or you catching a little cold or whatever, mullein tea is very, very, very good for that. So go ahead and check that out. Again, 20% off of everything that's under the gardens and tea section of Sombertree.com. Okay, so just to let you know about that. Speaking of which, I'll just jump over to Sombertree. I'm not going to go through the whole site. I'm just going to show you what I was talking about earlier. If you go to the main page, scroll down, and then you're going to get to this right here. Ask our herbal assistant. Many of you have seen something like this on other pages. This one is customized for, if you have any questions. I'll just read what I got right here. It says, "Hi, I'm your herbal assistant. Want to find out more about a particular herb and its best health uses? Just ask." Although we don't carry every herb at the Sombertree, we do have many that do address common health related issues. Keep in mind that I'm not a doctor, but I am very resourceful and learning more information every day. And then I said, so for example, you can say, what is ginger good for example? You can type that in, and then it will give you a whole breakdown, and it'll give you some examples how it can be used. Like I said, again, we're adding more and more to the database, as the days progress. But so that's a very good tool for you guys if you're just wanting some quick general information. I know you can go to Google for that. This one, you don't have to, there's not links and links and links where you got to page through everything. It just, boom, it's right there in your face. So again, that's Sombertree.com. That promo ends tonight. It's tonight. After that, that's it. We're going to move on about our business. So anyway, big shout out to everyone in the chat, of course. So let's go ahead and get into what we're talking about here tonight. So the first topic right now, discussion, we're going to talk about this thing, ethics Why it's so important? Why is that? Sounds like a very boring topic, doesn't it? Well, not really. Okay. Maybe what I should do is start with this video here. Okay. I'm going to show you a very short clip, and then we're going to kind of use that to shoehorn ourselves into why this topic is important. Okay. So let me do that. I think I'll do that instead. Okay. So let's see. Where is that video, which is right here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and pull this up here. It's like 2.5 minutes long. And I'll set it up for you. It says San Diego Board of Supervisors meeting. The government is planning on kicking out American citizen flood victims to make room for legal immigrants. As you know, that's been a big thing going on right now, where all of these immigrants are just coming in. I mean, flooding in. So it's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican issue. It's both sides of this party. So don't think if you get Trump in office, it's going to stop, because I don't care what he says. He had 4 years to handle that, and that wall still ain't built. Okay. And then you may say, well, he's still got to go through the Senate and then all that stuff. But listen, if he could make it happen, why it ain't done? That's bottom line. I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats, because they both got something to gain with flooding this nation with all of these immigrants. All over the country now, we're seeing more and more black folks that are starting to wake up and starting to realize, wait a minute, I thought the party that I would been voting for all this time had my best interests at heart. Well, surprise, surprise, that ain't the case. I'm not advocating for you to vote for the other party. I'm just simply saying, no matter what side you go to, neither side cares about you. And for some reason, we still got Negroes out here that still believe that if they can just vote this one time, that somehow that party is going to flip one day and say, you know what? This is the year. This is the year. We're going to go ahead and we're going to focus on your concerns. I'm sorry to break your heart here, but that ain't happening. Okay. That ain't happening. As long as this system is still the system, it ain't happening. Okay. So anyway, let me continue to read. It says, displaced American flood victims will be homeless so that illegals can be housed. And so you got places like in Chicago and Philadelphia and other places where black folks are going to these town hall meetings and voicing their concerns about it. And, they're like, yeah, okay, we hear you, whatever. So this is an example of one of those cases where you have this lady here who is voicing what she really means and what she's feeling about this whole thing as it pertains to what these immigrants are doing and what it's doing to the people who've already been here. So let's take a listen and let's go.
Out that March 11th, residents from the flood victim will be kicked out. So I wanted to let you guys.
Can you please state your name? I didn't call your name.
I know you didn't, but I'm still going to speak because on March 11th, flood resident victims will be kicked out of the hotel for the county. As you all talked about immigrants.
Tasha.
You need to also understand that you guys need to talk about people that voted for you.
Tasha.
You are going to make people homeless because they were in a flood victim. Because they were in a flood that was man-made. And I don't care if you turn it off.
No, it's okay.
Very nice. I have been very kind.
I understand, but I want you to know that this is a priority.
Very kind, and I have waited. These people have waited for you to stand up for them.
We have.
You have not. If you are going to put them out of a hotel.
We're gonna.
March 11th is their exit day.
We are going to make sure.
FEMA is not coming. The county is not talking to FEMA. Their exit day, and they found out today. They found out today there will be no extension. They found out today that the county is leaving the hotel. They found out today.
We're going to follow up to make sure that that doesn't occur.
Like you all this in high school.
No.
Y'all put plans together like high schoolers. People voted for you. You got college degrees. You acting like you went to high school. Stop acting like it. You are not working together. You sit here and talk about God. God ain't in this shit.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and stop. She's going to continue on. I'm showing this to you for a reason. Of course, you see she has good reason to, where the government basically is pushing these people out. They're flood victims. And now they're saying we're going to prioritize these new people that are coming in through the southern border or wherever, and we're going to give the resources that we set aside for you, we're going to give to them. So for you just gonna have to figure out somewhere else, but we ain't gonna help you anymore. That's called a business decision. Okay, that's what that's called. That's called a business decision. And who's making that business decision? Well, the largest company in this country, the United States of America. They're making that business decision. And once again, black folks are getting the short end of the stick when it comes to this. Now, this tactic that this woman is doing, we know and I understand, and we emphasize with her as far as, the frustration she must be feeling. But let me tell you something, that isn't going to work. What we are entering into right now, the screaming, the hollering, the marching and all of that, that is not going to work. It's not. Notice who she was voicing her frustrations to. Someone that she voted for. You look at this woman here that she voted for. She was not black. So you're screaming and hollering at a machine to do something for you. The machine has already moved on, and it's going to prioritize what it's going to prioritize. It's going to like what it likes. It don't care about you. So this is a lesson that we've had since the civil rights era, if not even before that. We've had this lesson we've been getting this reminder day in and day out and day in and day out that this system does not care about you. That has been thrown in our face over and over again, but yet we still have the Boule folks and all these other people that still every 4 years or every 2.5 years that constantly come to our people and say, listen, you got to vote, because if you don't vote, the ancestors are going to rise from the dead and they're going to shake their finger at you and tell you that you didn't vote. Man, I died so that you can vote. Me and Jesus, we died so that you can have the right to vote, and all of this stuff. And black folks have been falling for this for years, day in and day out, and it hasn't worked out. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that what we have entered into, and I'm going to get into the details of it, is that this tactic is not going to work. It is not going to work. Okay. It hasn't worked. And what we're entering into now, it's not going to work. This is why we have to hold ourselves accountable to each other. And I understand that people don't like that. I know it's not a popular topic to talk about, but you're going to see in a moment why this is very important. Now, on the topic of ethics and why ethics is so important, just think of ethics as a code or a set of rules, if you will, that a group of people will abide by. That's probably the easiest way to put it. Okay. It's a code of ethics. It's a code of behavior on how you carry yourselves and how you conduct yourselves. That's basically what ethics are. What is our value system? That's basically what that is. Now, in the technology world, there's been a long history of a code of ethics. What are the ethics of this? When it comes to the internet, when it comes to what the internet does, when it comes to the various software programs that are out there, and all of this stuff. There's been alongside all this advancement in technology, there's always been a sidebar conversation going along with this progression of where do we draw the line with some of this stuff? Where do we draw the line? As many of you know, for example, you have, many of us grew up in the era where you would go to the grocery store and there was no self-checkout. It was just pretty much you went to the register and a man or woman was there to check you out, and that's it. Nowadays, like the Walmart that's near us, they have literally re-renovated the entire front where the majority of the front is nothing but self-checkout. So just imagine all the jobs that have been taken as a result of that, which means you got to learn other skills, right? But nonetheless, if that was their job, well, it ain't going to be too much of a job now because technology is taking over a lot of these jobs. Same thing, let's say with Amazon. You know, many of us grew up in warehouses. Warehouses were full of people who were lifting boxes and, you know, the forklifts and, you know, and doing all this stuff, loading trucks and all that stuff. Well, now if you go into an Amazon warehouse, most of it is done by robots. Robots are doing that. So, and now the people are regulated to jobs that are literally burning them out. And so now it's a case of John Henryism, where you have the people now are competing with robots that never get tired. And this is why you see a lot of people go to Amazon and work there. The money may be great in the beginning, but after a while, how many stories have you heard of people just leaving trucks, you know, full of stuff that needs to be delivered? And they're like, man, I can't do this anymore because they're trying to work me to death. And so this is what we are competing with now. So the conversation of ethics has been going on for a long time to address these things, to say, wait a minute, where do we draw the line with this? You know, because now you're displacing people and their jobs and their livelihood, right? But nonetheless, the engine is still going to go on. So now it leaves us as human beings in a place where I don't think, and I tend to agree with those other people who have said this, I don't necessarily think that robots are going to replace human beings, period, because you're always going to need people to program these things, right? It just simply means that you need to start to some degree embracing this technology. I'm not saying you got to become a wizard at it. You got to become, you know, a tech guru at it, but you do need to have an understanding of how this stuff works and how it impacts you. You understand what I'm saying? And not looking at it through the filter of religion, which we will talk about later. So anyway, getting back to this ethics thing, let me go into it this way. Okay, so as someone who does a lot of research, you know, just on my own, and when I say do a lot of research, don't picture in your mind, you know, don't kid yourself. I'm not all hemmed up in a room all day and full of books and I'm just kind of going through it. No, it's just throughout the day as I get a moment or two or whatever, I'm reading stuff. And then if I get a block of time, yeah, I will get some books and stuff and go through it. But for the most part, you know, I just try to stay abreast of things and research and all of that. And one of our biggest, I would say, projects has been on this platform, taking a closer look at the Bible. Okay. And by, you know, and when you do that, what you're also opening up is an understanding that the Bible in of itself baseline is a Judaic belief. It's Judaic base. It's based on Judaism at the end of the day. Now, some people, they may not want to hear that. They may not like to hear that, but it's true. Just because you don't like to hear it doesn't change the facts. The Bible in of itself, the foundation of it is based off of Judaism, right? So when you start taking a closer look at the Bible, right, and you start inspecting it, then those who are tied to it the most are going to have some problems, right? And since we're talking about Judaism, well, who's on the top of that list? It's going to be Jewish people, okay? And you're not looking at it as a way of trying to be insulting or trying to be demeaning or anything like that. You just have some very real questions about the various accounts that were given, because you're looking at the accounts that were given in the Bible and you're cross-referencing it with the actual historical accounts. In many cases, it doesn't jive up. Okay. So when you start looking at that, of course, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to give some pushback on it. And of course, it's not just Jewish people, but it's also Christians and any other people group that embraces the Bible as it. You understand what I'm saying? And so moving along, staying with the Jewish people here, and then that starts opening up other doors of questions when you start looking at other things that took place throughout history. Okay. We've done extensive videos on talking about what Berlin was like before Nazism took over, who was running things in Berlin and all this other stuff, and what gave rise to Nazism and all of that stuff. We've talked about that in great length, not on this platform because, you know, they won't let us, but on our other platform, mybondtube.com, where we looked at the facts on these things, right? Then you fast forward a little bit more, then not really fast forward, you kind of go all the way back. You go to the days of the transatlantic slave trade. Yes, there was the Islamic slave trade, there was that part too, and that's very true. We're not talking about that. That one, by many accounts, was probably worse than the transatlantic one, but we're focused on the transatlantic. When you look at the transatlantic slave trade, you're going to see from the slave trade to actually who were the plantations, who owned many of the cotton plantations, who was showing up at the slave auctions, all the way to, talking about these different stores, these retail stores all throughout the South. Many of them you'll find in many of those pockets I just mentioned, Jewish people played an active role, and in many cases played a leading role. We did a video talking about the Confederate economy and talking about how the role that they played in that. Who were the bankers? We provided names and lists and all that kind of stuff too. So the information is out there. You just simply look for it, right? So when I go to Google to look this stuff up, it does come up. You can kind of tell that, they're pushing down some of the results because Google on many occasions has admitted that depending on what you're looking for, they do push down results. So this is an open secret. I mean, they've been saying this, right? But with this new thing that's coming out right now, or is out now, it's called ChatGPT. Now, many of you may have heard of this, what ChatGPT is, okay? You may have heard it in passing. We're going to talk a little bit about it, okay? So ChatGPT, think of Google, okay? Think of your whatever search engine you use. But this one, the results that you get are going to be more detailed and they're going to be more targeted. In other words, when you do a search, the results are going to be really clean. It's not going to be pages and pages of links where you got to go through and hunt and peck through these different pages until you find your information. You're going to get kind of your information all in that one result. When it comes back, you're going to beautiful paragraph. Depending on which engine you're using, they'll even give links. They may even give images and all that stuff. So ChatGPT is the next thing. Now, it's not just the next thing. It's taking over at rapid speed right now. And so now people can build things around this thing, ChatGPT, that can basically, it's revolutionary where you can build schools and stuff like that. I have an example I'm going to show you later. But anyway, GPT, basically what it stands for is generative pre-trained transformer. I know that's some big words there, but basically it's trained to respond like a human. Like you can literally get into a back and forth with this page, with this service, all right, ChatGPT, where let's say you bring up a book or something like that, all right, and you can actually, it's almost as if you're debating with the author of that book. Maybe the author brought up some things that you find you don't agree with. You can actually go in, back and forth, and it's like you're debating this author, but you're not debating the author. You're just debating the work of the author. You know what I'm saying? So it's really revolutionary in all the things you can do, because it does in many ways. It's the technology in of itself is replacing a whole lot of jobs, and it's changing the landscape at a very rapid pace. Now, getting back to my Jewish example here. Now, as you know, the Jewish population, the community, they have their own ethics, right? They have their own belief system, what they believe, how they're to conduct themselves with each other, how they're to conduct themselves with other people groups. They have their own ethics system. In fact, they're known for this, all right, to have that. And so what groups, I would say the top group would be the Jewish people. Now, let me go back. When you're talking about technologies like ChatGPT, what's not surprising is that in this whole field, and in the tech field for that matter, you're going to find many people who are Israeli based or they're Jewish that are running a lot of these tech companies or the faces behind a lot of these AI initiatives and programs and things out there. Okay. So anyway, get to my point. So anyway, so Jewish people, the community, oftentimes they have sat down with a lot of these tech companies, especially when the whole, Hebrews, the Negroes thing. You remember when that came out and they lost their mind talking about, anti-Semitism. Oh my goodness, anti-Semitism. Well, they weren't just crying like this woman that I just showed you. They were actually sitting down with these tech companies and would say, listen, you need to develop policies that come in alignment with our ethics, all right, what our belief systems are. And what we believe is that there's certain things you cannot question us about, because there's certain topics that you cannot touch, because if you do go into those areas, we classify that as being anti-Semitic. And so as a result, over the years, you'll find, like I mentioned, like Google, for example, and some of these other tech companies, if you dare even question things, then all of a sudden you get flagged. You understand what I'm saying? And so there are things like I said, I'm gonna give you a case in point where, let's say if I was in Google and I said, let me do a search on the history of these various department stores, the rise of department stores in the South during the Jim Crow era, and who were the families behind it, right? Now, Google will give me some results, and I have to dig, and then finally I'll find it, because they, that's how they do. They bury this stuff. Okay. Now, in ChatGPT, however, if I do the same search, what happens more often than not, it will say, and this is a one that I wish I saved it, you could see it, but basically, and it's probably here somewhere, but if I had the time, I would have did it earlier if I thought about it. I asked the question about tell me about who were the families that were behind many of these retail stores throughout the South during the Jim Crow era. And it mentioned the fact that, yes, many of these stores, and it listed them out for me, many of these stores were owned by Jewish families. And I mentioned in there, it was something about Jim Crow. Then it says, but however, later on, the company did come around and began to push policies that were anti-Black, that were pro-Black. In other words, they were anti-Jim Crow policies or something like that. So they added in this thing, in the ethics of this system, that, okay, we're going to tell the truth, but at the same time, well, we're going to kind of smooth it out so that, okay, yeah, they did it, but, hey, listen, later on, hey, they got it right. I didn't ask for that. When I'm querying up, or if I'm searching for facts, if I'm doing a search about historical things, I'm not asking for your opinion about, well, later on they got it right. I didn't ask for that. Did you participate in this? Yes or no? Okay. Then from there, whatever the response is on that, so be it. Now, if I want to know what they did later, that's up to me to look that up. That's not up to you to look that up. Why do you feel like you got to put that extra in there? I didn't ask for that. See, that's an example what I'm talking about. What has happened is that they baked in their ethics into this system. That's just one example. I'm just using them as an example. But there are many other examples as well. There's certain things I have tried to do a search on ChatGPT, and it will downright not even give it to me. I say, I'm sorry, you can't ask that. It will tell you that. It says, I'm not equipped to answer that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You ain't equipped. Seriously. One day I may show that, but I have to show that on my Bantu. But seriously, I have come across that quite a bit. But this is history. So what has happened is their code of ethics, if you will, is baked in. And they made sure that this whole thing, this whole AI revolution that we're in right now, includes a code of ethics that does not ever offend a certain group of people. Okay? But that's just them. But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way. Now, fast forward a little bit. Let me get to my other stuff here. Hold on for a second. Now, fast forward. We have to now look at what is the code of ethics when it comes to us as a people. What's our code of ethics? Okay. I'll just say right off the top, do I believe that, that the Black community, African American community could ever come together and bring that kind of power to the table? No, I don't. Not in this lifetime. I don't believe that at all. Not based on and that's just based on what we have already demonstrated. Okay. And so, first of all, the first thing we need to understand is this, when we going back to the Jewish community, what they understand is that ethics begins in the home. That's where it's established. It's established in the home. It's not established on social media. It's established in the home. It's not established in the White House or in the Senate or, any other government facility. Ethics, your belief system, is established in the home. Okay, that's where it's established. And then from there, everything else either has to conform or whatever. That's where your ethics as an individual, that's where it begins. Now, when we're talking about our community, our people, I'm talking about Black folks now, we have to really ask ourselves, have we done a good job in establishing a code of ethics just in our own, amongst ourselves? How do we treat each other? How we talk to one another? Is there a code of ethics to make sure that that these single moms are protected? Is there a code of ethics to make sure that, that we ensure that those that are suffering from some kind of mental illness, that they're getting the care that they need? Is there a code of ethics to make sure that nobody amongst our people will ever go to bed hungry? You understand what I'm saying? Now, these may seem like tall orders, but this is part of how do you feel? What is your convictions as an individual when it comes to seeing your people go through some of these things? Do you just say, well, the government ain't doing enough? Or is there something inside of you that says, hey, listen, I need to be stepping up. I need to be doing something. And the rest of us, we need to be doing the same thing. We don't care about this government. We don't care about this, but this is something that we are supposed to do. Many of us like to romanticize Black Wall Street and all that stuff. But see, this is the heart of what these people had when they was establishing these small towns and communities all throughout the West. When Black folks, after the Emancipation Proclamation, when they were migrating out West, they had to adopt this mindset that is just us and that's it. And we got to carry each other's back, period. That was the key and the foundation of how they was able to build their towns and communities and everything else. Now we just romanticize about it. But to put it into practice is something totally different, isn't it? Because it takes a lot of effort and it also takes a lot of responsibility and all of that. And unfortunately, we don't want to do that. You understand what I'm saying? In many cases. So anyway, ethics begins at home. That's where it begins. And then it also expands even more. It's the community that is there to enforce it. So for example, some of you who grew up in a time where if someone saw a child in the community acting up or whatever, you had other people in the community that would step up and be like, no, you don't do that. And then they will handle business or whatever. And then by the time that child got home, it was already dealt with. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's a code of ethics that we had at one point, right? Now, let's fast forward into this technological space that we're in today. All right. Now, in this space today, because there isn't a solid code of ethics in the home, talking about with Black folks, I'm speaking generally now, that has transferred into the digital space. Case in point, I'll give you a very good example. All right. There was a video that I saw recently, and it's not the first time I've seen videos like this. I've seen other videos like this where a mother got word that her child was acting up in class. So being a parent that was being attentive of that, like, no, I don't tolerate that foolishness, she went to the school, right? and she had somebody following her with their phone. So that I don't know who it was, but it was someone with her. Filmed her going into the classroom, pulling out her child, then going down the hallway. This child is by this time screaming and hollering. And then by the time they get outside, she basically tearing that child behind up, right? Now, all of this is on social media. It's uploaded all on servers all over the place. Now, for some of us, we will sit there and watch that and say, you know what? That's a good thing. Because, see, we need more of that, where parents will, won't tolerate this kind of foolishness to, when it comes to our children and all that stuff. That's a good thing. But is it? And let me explain why. When you do that, what you're doing is, first of all, discipline. When you're disciplining your children, in the era I grew up in, that generally took place in the home. Unless you wanted to be double daring and try that mess with your parents outside, they'll handle business outside, right? But for the most part, it was something that was handled in the home, right? So now what's happened is you have taken something that should have been handled in a home, and now you're putting it on the internet, where it's not just exposed to the people on your timeline, but the millions and millions of timelines literally all over the world. And now you're bringing in all kinds of opinions on this thing, ranging from people who say, hey, you hitting them too hard, that's abuse, to people who are triggered because they're looking at this because they were with a parent that used to abuse them. Then you got other people who look at it further and say, well, why are you going to embarrass them like that? You should have did that at home. Then you're going to have some other groups. So now you got all these different voices coming in, and now it's taking a basic thing where the child was clearly in the wrong. You have a parent that's responsible enough to say, listen, I need to make it clear that I don't tolerate that. Now you're taking that and you're exposing that to the rest of the world. And now you got all kinds of thoughts and opinions, and you might even get DIFUS coming up in there too to take your child away. So, but if there was a code of ethics where we said, listen, we don't do that. We should discipline our children if they get out of pocket, but you don't put that on social media. What the amount of things that will save us from is just amazing if you sit down and think about it. You understand what I'm saying? Now, some people may say in that example, well, how will we know if, that child is being, maybe there's abuse there. Maybe she goes too hard when she disciplines. That's why depending on if it's a good reputable school, that's why you have good trained teachers who are able to spot that in most cases, where if they do notice something a little bit off, they can handle that. And in many cases, these schools have professionals who are more specialized in that area, and they can handle that. That should not be on timelines all over the internet. Do you understand what I'm saying? Another example where ethics are desperately needed is where you see all of these videos out here of women out here shaking their behinds and saying all kinds of twisted and crazy stuff and all of that stuff, right? And then our brothers are right there too, doing the same thing. Not realizing that everything that you put on the internet is pretty much forever. You understand what I'm saying? So you upload it and but there's very little thinking, processing going on up here to where it's like, if I do upload this thing may come back and bite me. So maybe I should not do that. And so, but you don't see that. So because there's no code of ethics that are in place where there's, okay, you know what? I may need to think about this twice or even 3 times. Maybe I should run this by somebody before I upload this. This is why our part of the internet, if you will, is flooded with all kinds of information that most of these people, when they get to the point where they either are looking for a job or they're looking to secure a loan, or they're looking to make some major moves where they're in an environment where they need to be taken seriously, they're not going to be taken seriously and they're going to be dismissed. And then what's going to happen? It's what you saw in the video that I showed you earlier. A bunch of whining and crying, and we're going to do a protest. And like I said earlier, the protest era is over. It is done. It's over with. You know, I can create a virtual protest right now on my computer. I can make you think that there's thousands of people walking down the street protesting about something that happened in my community, and in reality, it never happened. So the protest thing, it's over. It's done. It does not work. It doesn't work. All the crying and the screaming and stuff like that, it doesn't work. We're done. We're over that. It doesn't work. Okay. So in this era right now, what's happening, I would say just in the last few months, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it has swept this landscape to such a degree to where decisions are being made when it comes to who gets a loan versus who doesn't. There's decisions being made when it comes to where the next housing community is going to be built. There's decisions that are being made all the time at just like that, just that quick. And because our people in many cases have been distracted with everything else, who Puff Daddy is sleeping with, and did you read the whole court case and all of that stuff, and did you see them, and they look more like a man now. Is that a man or a woman, and all of this stuff? Because when you don't have a code of ethics, it's like a broken gate. It's just things just swinging, and now what you are doing is that you're allowing others to come in to say, okay, this is what you can and this is what you can't do. Okay. And so, but what you're going to see is you're going to have some problems with that. So I would say in this year, and so when my son sent me a video, I don't have it right now, but he sent me a video. It was really something. I mean, it's sometimes I have problems pulling up Instagram, but he sent me a video with a black gentleman. He was saying that this 2024 is the year, if you're going to get into AI, meaning if you're trying to start a business or something like that, this is the year. This is like the equivalent of when Google first came out on the scene. And when Google first came out, people are like, oh, what's this plain little page? What's that about? And you see where Google is now. So I'm not telling you, for those who want to get into business, this is the year to do it. If you are just, hey, listen, I'm at retirement, man. I ain't trying to start nothing. I'm just trying to float in. Okay, I understand that. But you also need to be very aware of what this technology is and how you can benefit from it. This is going to lead into the religion piece that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Okay. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something that you should be very aware of. And there are many cases that you can actually profit from it. Okay. We're going to give you some examples. All right. And so again, let me make sure I covered everything with this whole ethics discussion here, because again, this is something that, this is the most important part. When it comes to ethics, here's another example that I want to give. This one is a very important. This is right, the main part. When it comes to ethics, how we tell our stories. This is I want you, if you haven't paid attention to anything I said, please make sure you listen to what I'm about to say. How we tell our stories. Now, you've seen on this page, on this platform here, we do use AI artwork, right? Now, we just do that to kind of accentuate the beauty of our culture. So in other words, you'll see me post pictures of beautiful women, right? African-American women or African women or whatever, or, handsome men. I'll post that too, or children or the grandparents and stuff like that. I'm simply accentuating what we already have, right? So that's cool. I don't see anything wrong with that. If you're just simply accentuating factual information, that's fine. It's no different than anything else that you see out there, right? But here is the danger, and I've spoken about this before. One of the biggest problems that we have right now as a culture is that this culture, Black culture, African-American culture, whatever you want to call it, is we are in the middle of a major identity crisis. Major identity crisis. It's kind of amazing to me that the Africans that came over as slaves were more in tune with who they were and where they came from than we are today with all this technology and access that we have right now. But we are right now in the middle of a major identity crisis right now amongst our people. And one of the things that I have seen is how people have used this technology to make it even worse. Now, on this platform, I've talked about different groups. You know, we talked about the Hebrews, for example, who love AI artwork, and, you know, their narrative that they're pushing, they turn to this technology to basically to push it even further to massive amount of people who won't investigate things themselves. When you look at a lot of these images, they look very real. They look very convincing, but it's based off of information that's not accurate in many cases. You got people that were doing AI artwork on Sephardic Jews that got afros and everything and looked like they just came out of good times and stuff. It's crazy. You know, and so you got the Hebrews that do it, right? Then you got the whole population of folks who are turning to this AI artwork to really play up the whole we never were in Africa in the first place narrative, that we were always here and we had nothing to do with Africa narrative. And so they're coming out with all of this artwork now, and video and motion video and all that stuff, to really play that up to such a degree to where people who won't even take the time to watch a 1-minute video will just go by the thumbnail and say, see, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let me give you an example. Now, very recently, I would say, what was it? Yesterday, a day before, not sure. One of the channels I like looking at a lot is the Yarboroughs. Okay. You guys may know them. This is a beautiful couple. They spent a great deal of time in like places like Central South America and all of that. And what they do is they actually have been tracing the diaspora, you know, the African diaspora all throughout that whole area. And, you know, they little quirky and they do little things and all of that to kind of really, you know, to tell that story, you know, that, you know, how our people just kind of migrated in all of these areas and all of that. And so, you know, they do pretty well, you know, as far as like their viewership, they do pretty well. But then, you know, and so a lot of their videos are made up of conversations that they're having with real people, conversations and then them eating the real food, right? And showing you that how it's connected to Africa and all of that, right? And, you know, they also are looking at the dances and other cultural practices and stuff like that and showing you, see, this is connected to Africa. So they're very, very, very good at that. Like if you're not subscribed to them, if you've never checked them out, I would highly encourage you to check them out. They do a very good job with that. Now, just recently, they dropped a video, title on the thumbnail, The Black Indians. Okay, now, I didn't watch the whole video. I kind of skimmed through it. I'm going to watch it a little bit later. But it was as I expected. It was done very well from what I can see. You know, they basically are talking about the Seminoles and, you know, and the Black Seminoles and how they became black in the first place. These were Africans that kind of, you know, mixed with the natives that were already here and all of that. And then they talked about later how there was a split and all that stuff, how they were like, nah, okay, we done with y'all niggas. We gonna come back. We gonna go back to being Indians and y'all stay whatever. You know, I think they also mentioned how many of these Indian tribes basically enslaved us. So they covered all the basic bases as they should. And like I said, I didn't think they would do any different. So as someone who didn't watch the entire video, I skimmed through it, but I skimmed through it enough to catch all the high points or whatever. It looked like a pretty good video. But when I went into the comments, however, I can tell that many of these people didn't even bother to watch the video. They just simply saw the title, and you had people saying, see, I knew it. Oh, you keep digging. You're almost there now. You're almost there now. Keep going. Keep going. You know, and by the way, my grandfather said that we're Blackfoot. And then they started, and then you see in the comments, people starting all these side conversations about how their grandmother said that they were an Indian, and, you know, and yeah, this is true. And, you know, the truth is coming out and all this other stuff. And that's not even what they were talking about. They're talking about it from an African-based perspective. But the majority of people, like I said, just looking in the comments alone, you could tell they ain't even half watch it. They're looking at the title and they're just running with it. And then, you know, the thing that they had in their video, like I said, again, I've seen quite a few of their videos. I've never really seen them use AI until this video. Now, they may have used it in the past, but they really poured it on in this one. And so the AI artwork, of course, you got the Indians looking like, you know, Bill Duke and all, you know, they black, you know what I'm saying? And so people who, like me, or skimming through it, if they got in their minds that a certain narrative, they're looking for confirmation bias by skimming through it and saying, hey, see, they got it. We were that. And so you got a video full of these images and people really not paying attention. Wait a minute, let's listen to what they're actually saying here. And so this is, again, where the what you call it, the code of ethics come into play. How much is too much when we're telling our stories, when we're using this type of technology? And is there a checks and balance system? Do we have that in place? How do we handle people that are out here straight up lying? We've exposed quite a bit of different memes and stuff that people have put out. You got people who, beyond AI technology, they're using Photoshop or whatever and making up books and making up sources and making claims that this person said this or whatever. And then we're like, okay, let's look through it. They ain't say that. But you look at how many times this thing has been retweeted or reposted over and over again, hundreds of thousands of times. And it's all because of how this technology is being used, and that there's no boundaries on, okay, if we're going to tell our stories, let's make sure we draw some boundaries in how we tell it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not telling people don't use AI artwork at all. That'll make me a freaking hypocrite right there. I'm not saying that. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think it should be used, but I think it should be used responsibly. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be responsible on how you use it. And that's where ethics come into play, on how it's being used. Because like I said, you got a lot of people right now that are using this stuff as a way to convey something that they're saying is true, but it's not. Do you understand what I'm saying? And people, and when you're dealing already with a population that has a long history of having a low literacy rate, it's a bad combination. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yes, so this is why it's very important. And I honestly believe, again, and I'll stress this again, do I believe in, at least in my lifetime, will we get to a place as a people where there will be a code of ethics established? I will go ahead and tell you that I don't think so. I don't believe so. It would be nice to see that, but I honestly think that horse has left the barn a long time ago. But I wanted to talk about this at least because it's something that should be in our heads, something that we think about, because what I'm telling you is this technology right now, we have to be people who set boundaries on how it's used and what information we give it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if we don't do that, if we don't make it known that, hey, listen, there's certain things, we ain't tolerating at all. You know what I mean? If we don't set those boundaries, then I'm telling you, we're going to see within 50 years or less, many of our stories are going to be so intermingled with a bunch of lies that we came up with, that we're going to be able to we're not going to know which end is which. And I think this is just the beginning. Like I said, again, this identity crisis thing that you're seeing right now, it's only going to get exasperated as this technology continues the trajectory that it's on right now. So this is why I'm a strong advocate of just really thinking, about, I think the technology should be used, but I also think that we have to make sure that we're scaling back a little bit in our enthusiasm in using it, because a lot of this stuff, and I've shared just some of the images. I mean, the stuff look awesome. Now that's the stills that I've been putting up there. I haven't even shown y'all the videos and stuff that we're able to do now. There's whole videos I can do right now that it just looks like a whole person. We can do cartoons right now that look just like a Disney cartoon. Disney already knows what time it is as I'm speaking right now. This is why just recently they just had a whole big meeting inviting all these different AI companies to come in and like, okay, what do we do now? Because right now, the power to create animations and movies and stuff like that without people is here. My son just showed me a website right now where if I wanted to, let's say if I design clothes, but I need a model to show it. Well, all you got to do is scan your clothes, right, with your phone or whatever, upload it to the page, and then you can pick which model you want, and it looks just like the model's wearing it. So gone are the days of you having to find a model and have to pay them and all this other stuff. You ain't got to do it anymore. Now it's just, you could just do it. You can find your own model. You understand what I'm saying? Music, the music that I showed you that we played on that video the other day, where I was talking about, we were looking for a theme song for Ensemble Tree. That was all AI. I didn't sit down and write that. I just told it, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want it to sound like. This is kind of the groove I want or whatever. And then boop, within 2 minutes, I got a song with lyrics. So what I'm saying to you is that we are in the middle of a major revolution. And so if we are not prepared for it, if we're not engaged in this, and again, I'm not telling you got to, embrace all of it, but we have to make sure in our understanding of it, as we are getting into it, we have to make sure that there's certain boundaries that are set. There's certain information that we just say, you know what, I'm not giving up. For example, I could do one right now where, the post that I write, let's say I'm like, you know what, I don't feel like getting behind the microphone and reading it. I can record, have my voice record it with an AI system. It will sound exactly like me. And I can type out a whole script. And as long as you don't see my face, you won't even know if it's me talking or the software. I'm not talking about something that's in some CIA laboratory. I'm talking about here and now. And let me say this too, and I'll go even further. This is why I have been warning you. I have been warning, and I have been warning, and I've been warning y'all. I said to be very careful, especially these channels where the people don't ever show their face. They may be saying some good things, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't ever see their face, you better take note. And I would think that black folks would know better than to fall for that. But unfortunately, it's not the case. It's all in what is being said. And there are channels, them, that are all on YouTube right now. You never seen their face. So you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who you're listening to. And but you're like, but it sounds so real. Exactly. So where does ethics come in? Ethics would say, if I don't see your face, and even with that, you got to question that too, because am I seeing a real face or am I seeing a digital face? Well, I personally assure you, I'm about as real as it gets. Okay. So you ain't got a question over here, but we are at that stage right now. People have sent thousands of dollars to these platforms and they've never seen the person at all. Making major decisions about certain things, they've never seen the person. There are things right now I have access to like you have access to it as well, where you just have to program it on how you want it. You want to train these GPTs on how to respond like I would respond to a comment. So in reality, you think you going back and forth with me in a chat somewhere or on Twitter. It could be something. I'm somewhere asleep and you think you talking to me. So I'm telling you this, when I talk about this whole, the slow boiling of the frog effect, it's happening. And there's a lot of jobs that are literally being cut as we speak right this second. I'm not making this up. This ain't in the future. This ain't I'm telling you right now what's happening. There are jobs that are being wiped out. Why? Because people don't want to take the time to embrace and understand the technology. They don't want to do it. All right. So what I'm going to do now, because we're going to get into part 2 here, I'm trying to see how we're going to do this. What I'll do is we're going to take a break. In this break, I'm going to actually show you an app that I came across that I think that you guys will find very helpful. And let me pull this up here because I think you guys will really, really like this. I came across this. I was looking at something the other day and I was like, man, that's what's up. Let me pull this up here. Make sure I took my screenshots. Here we go. Well, I think I only took one because I didn't have, and I'm going to tell you why I think I only was able to take one here. Hold on for a second. The name of this app is called Supermarket App Pro. I don't make a dime off of this. This isn't my app. Okay. So this is just something I came across. I thought it was neat and I just wanted to share it with you. That's it. It's nothing. I don't get it. I don't know the developer or anything like that. This is just something I came across. So anyway, it's called Supermarket App Pro. And what this app does, it allows you to scan any food label. And what it will do is it will use the technology, and I believe there's some AI in the background. It will scan the label, it will read it, and then it will pull out the information that it will tell you, okay, what's safe versus what's unsafe. The app itself is $5 for a year. I don't really like, it's like $5 a year. And so here's an example of one here that I did. I'll pull on the screen here. Here you go. So what I did was I actually scanned, this was shredded cheese. Because I was going all throughout my house. I was like, I'm trying to find something, but everything was coming back clean. I was like, okay, but anyway. But shredded cheese, however, ain't really that good for you. It ain't really that good for you. But anyway, so I took a picture. The app will allow you to take a picture and then it will scan this label and then it will tell you what unsafe ingredients are in it. And so here you see right here, it lists the unsafe ingredient and it found, and then it tells me what the name of it is. And then it also tells you what it does, what it's used for. And then they say the concern, they say high doses may cause changes in liver enzymes. So yeah, so I think this is a very, very good app that you probably should check out. And I think it'll be very, very helpful. This is an example of being aware of the technology and using it in such a way where it can be a help and a benefit to you. And this is an app that I came across, I thought was a really, really good one. And again, it's called Supermarket App Pro. I'm assuming it's in the Android store, but you can look it up for yourself and see if it is. It's $5 for a year, not a month, but for a year. And it gives you access to being able to scan it and did it. So I was running around the house. Well, not really running, but I was going around the house and trying to scan different stuff, but I couldn't find anything. It was coming back, for the most part, things were coming back clean. Now, that doesn't mean it's 100% clean. I ain't going to lie to you, because I'm sure if I looked up things individually, I'll find out more information, which this app allows you to do. The scanning part is one side of it, but the other part of it is you can also type it in and it will quickly bring up that information for you, and you can make the determination whether or not if this is something safe for you and your family or not. So it's a great app. I thought it was cool. So check it out. Again, it's called Supermarket App Pro. And that's something I'm giving them free advertising. I don't even know these people, but I thought it was cool. So anyway, Supermarket App Pro. All right. Let's continue here. Now we're going to turn a little bit here. And now let's get into how religion has really stopped ingenuity, particularly amongst black people in the black community. And this one will be much quicker. But basically, in a nutshell, religion in of itself has always been very leery of technology. Always been very leery of technology. It's always, and this is just beyond black people. This is just religion, period. Especially when you're dealing with Western, I would say more so Western religion, Western-based religion. Christianity would look oftentimes, and we can go all the way back to, Christianity's first exploration into Africa, where you had these Africans that were using drums and stuff to, I think we did a video on this a while back where, a number system that was based on drum beats, and they would use this as a way of communicating in some of the tribes or something like that. We talked about this a while back. And they even talked about how, the Africans that were brought over as slaves, they weren't just beating drums, just arbitrarily just beating drums. And it was like, oh, they're beating drums. Let me hear that. Doom, doom, doom. It wasn't just that. There was a system. There was something being communicated within those beats, and how based on how hard you hit the drum and all of that, there's information, there's intelligence being transferred. So what religion did is told us, or Christianity said, oh no, no, the drums are the devil. You can't bring that up in here. It's of the devil. It's associated with witchcraft. You shouldn't have anything to do with the drums. But in African culture, the drums were very spiritual. You know what I mean? It was baked into the spiritual DNA, drums and other instruments as well. It was Christianity that came in and said, no, we can't do that. Okay. So anyway, so fast forward, when we were, our people going back into ancient African history, we were very technological people and a very spiritual people as well. And you'll see oftentimes the two would blend in. You couldn't have one without the other. But like I said, again, it wasn't until when the Europeans came in, they did the separation stuff. But meanwhile, in their back rooms, they were doing both too. They would, but they would just turn into something else, but they were doing that. But anyway, so fast forward, what has happened is there's always this dim view when it comes to technology or, progress or inventing things and things like that. When, especially more so you will see it, even with the whole internet thing. When the internet thing came about, you had people already talking about, oh, the 666 system is here. Oh, it's a matter of time. Oh, the demons are here now. Oh, they're here now. Oh my, the demons are here. At a click of a button right now, they're going to get you. Oh, they're going to get you. The internet, when the internet came out and all of that, and a lot of people were already saying that this is the end and all of that. But no, that wasn't the case at all. The internet has been used for a lot of good things, but, you do have the religious amongst us who, because of their belief system, they tend to shy away from that and get other people, don't get too deep in that because you're going to give up your soul, that kind of thing. One of the things that's happening now is money as we know it is going away. In other words, money as we know it is digitized. It's already been that, quite honestly, with credit cards and debit cards and stuff like that. Most people don't carry cash on them. You may be one of those, I always carry cash. Okay, well, your days are numbered too, because it's just toilet paper right now. But this system that we're in right now is a digital based system, period. So when we talk about cryptocurrencies, we actually did a couple of videos on that on this platform. And then we actually hosted a little mini seminar too. Anybody was invited to come free of charge. You can come in, and we just talked about the basics of cryptocurrency and why you should at least look into it. We were not telling people, because we're not licensed financial advisors and all of that stuff, but we were just simply saying, listen, this is something that you should at least be aware of and investigate and look into it. If anything, if you do an investment in it, just a little bit. Don't bet the farm. Don't put your life savings in it, but just a little bit, so you can kind of get familiar with the technology, because this is the next thing, right? So at that time, and I actually look back, I went back to see when we did that video. That video was when we were doing that video, when we talk about cryptocurrencies, that was done like 2 years ago. And at that time, Bitcoin, which is like the main cryptocurrency that's out there. There's other cryptocurrencies out there too, like Ethereum or XRP or, XLM or whatever. There's a whole bunch of them out there. And if you want a whole breakdown of that or whatever, you got all kind of people on social media that breaks it down for you. And we did a video. It's over on my Bantu. And so anyway, so at that time, when we were telling people, hey, listen, this is something you need to check out. At the most, if you're going to invest in it, maybe do a little bit just so you can get used to it. And if you're going to invest in cryptocurrency, I said my advice would be, if anything, Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is like the main one. If you got a little extra change somewhere, you just want to see what happens, put it in there if you're going to do it. But other than that, all the other ones, I'm not going to speak on those. At that time, Bitcoin, this was 2 years ago. Now, mind you, Bitcoin was like up to 50. It had hit, I think it even hit 60. I think that was like the high. But at that time, it, all cryptocurrencies was in a low. So it had gone down to under 20,000 at that time, under 20,000 when we were talking about this. And at that time, we were telling people, hey, listen, you may want to check it out, right? Well, guess where it is today? It is knocking on the door of $70,000. $70,000. So from 18,000 a coin, 18 to 20,000 a coin, to now it's almost at $70,000. Can you imagine? So the people who actually listened to that, you have pretty much tripled your investment. And again, even if it's a little bit, now I'm going to be honest with you. We ain't rolling like that. Okay. It ain't us. We invested in it, but not, ain't got that kind of money to really put a whole lot in it where I'm just like, y'all, I'm gone. It ain't like that. But I'm going to tell you, I looked at it today. I was like, oh my goodness. So, but this is technology. And it was interesting when we did that video, there were at least a couple of channels I can think of, coincidentally enough, dropped some videos and we're talking about how there's somebody out here pushing this crypto stuff. And this is Satan's money. He coming out, he's sending people that's going to tickle your ears and try to get you caught up in this stuff. And the Most High, he's about to take us away out of this system. So you don't want to get in thought in that. Don't be listening to these people. $70,000. And no, nobody gave up their soul or anything like that. It's just simply an understanding that, okay, this is the system that we're transferring to right now. It's a real thing, and I may want to pay attention to it. Nothing wrong with that. And for those of you who are still tripping about, well, crypto, if you look at the etymology of the word crypto and all that, before you break that all down, make sure you pull out a dollar bill if you got one in your wallet or in your purse, and you pay attention to that eye of Horus and that temple and all that stuff on your dollar bill. Trip over that for a minute before you start going into the crypto. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, we are in their system. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to learn how to operate in that system without giving up everything. You ain't got to give up your whole soul for that. Again, this is where your ethics come into play. You understand? So, yeah. So when it comes to, so that's one example of how religion has a way of, scaring folks away and like, oh, don't get into this technology. Whatever you do, don't touch it now. Don't mention it. Don't play with it now. Because if you do, oh, the devil done got you now. And so my encouragement to you is to make sure that you do your own legwork and you investigate in it, and with the full understanding that this system is what it is. And if you don't do it, what I'm telling you is you're going to be in a far worse condition than whatever. There's a lot of people right now that are out here telling you that you got to flee, you got to leave Babylon, and you got to come out of her, and you got to go where? Where are we going? The whole world is under this system. Where are you going to go? And some of them same Negroes that were telling you to flee and go to Africa, guess what's happening now? Now all of a sudden they scratching their head like, can we come back? Can we come back now? Because I didn't know. I didn't think this through. And not to say there's nothing bad about Africa. I'm just saying you have to put, you got to think these things through before you do it. There are people going to Africa right now doing very well. But don't allow religion and religious folk to dictate to you how you prepare your own families. If you're an individual, like I said again, if you're, older individual and maybe you're in your retirement years, nobody's saying that in order for you to live a good life, you got to become a tech guru. I'm not saying that at all. If you own property, my advice would be a simple one, and that is hold on to it. Do not sell it unless you absolutely have to, but don't sell it. Hold on to your property, because what's happening right now is that a lot of people in the younger generations, they're having a very difficult time in being able to buy something, because again, how jobs are just so flighty these days, right? And then even if they want to rent something, they just busted a whole ring here in the Phoenix area where you had a few companies that got together and were controlling the prices of the rental market in downtown Phoenix area. They were all getting together and they did this. And it wasn't just Phoenix, there's other places too. So, and a lot of people now, they can't afford to own their homes, so they turn to renting. And, and if you turn to that, again, you got your price gouging in places like here in Arizona, for example. A lot of these tech companies have already made it clear that what their intentions are in some of the land out here, because they want to clear this land so that they can create their own, tech cities, if you will, where they are in control of all this stuff. So I bring that up too with the religious piece here. You believe what you want, but at the end of the day, use your mind, use the brain that your creator gave you to actually do your own investigation on these things. And I just think of how many people missed out. I think of all of these churches, for example, if they were about something, they could have taken that tithe and offering money, put it into Bitcoin. They could have just did that and then tripled their money, their investment. Now you got people all over that are able to be taken care of. Now, these pastors may have done it on their own, but they ain't going to tell you about it. What they going to tell you? You got to vote for Biden. You got to keep him in. And, we always going to stay poor and broke until one day the rapture going to come and it's going to take us away. What's another mindset that we should adopt? And this is, talking about these churches again. Imagine if these churches, instead of being, and this is some of these older churches, instead of being known for, you got a church building and back of the church building, you got a full graveyard. What if churches said, okay, we got all this land, and what we're going to do with this land is we're going to have crops. We're going to have all this going to be crops, and we're going to be able to feed all of our people, and we're going to teach people how to grow things. What if churches that have all this land did that? New Birth down in Atlanta, they had an idea about that. But of course, they weren't talking about growing tomatoes and cucumbers. You know what they wanted to grow? Weed. They wanted to grow weed. But just imagine if these churches were to use the land that they have already and grow crops on this platform, I showed you, for example, here in the Phoenix area, again, you got this, it's called the Borderlands or something, this organization, nonprofit organization. They have figured out that a lot of this produce that's coming from Mexico and points south, they can't sell it all. So what happens is they end up throwing these different produce people, they throw it out, but it's still good stuff. So what they do is they partner with this organization, and this organization goes all throughout the communities and sell it at a very unreasonable, I mean, just a ridiculous price. You saw 70 pounds of produce I got for $20. 70 pounds of it. 70 pounds. Now imagine for a second if a bunch of these organizations, black organizations, got together and said, we're going to go to the border and we're going to get all of that, and we're going to do a night flight to these different cities where our people are hungry, and they can get fresh produce straight from the border. It's not that it can't be done. It can be done. I'm going to say this and then I'm done. There is a pizza place in Atlanta. I keep talking about one day I'm going to just fly back to Atlanta just to go to this pizza place. I can't think of the name of it. But my wife and I, we were talking to one of the main workers there, and they were telling us that every day they have their produce flown in fresh from Italy. Every day they go to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport every day to pick up their ingredients so that they can make pizza for that day or for that week. Tomatoes, tomato sauce, cheese, dough, all of that's flown in fresh every day from Italy so that they can sell pizza. And in the same city, you got people that are homeless. They can't find food to eat. They eating out of trash cans and all this other stuff. You telling me now one of these Negroes can't get together and say, listen, let's have some planes at the ready down in Phoenix somewhere, or down at the border down there, and get this produce and make sure that our people are eating. See, ties it back into ethics. If we as a people don't have our own ethic system, then I am personally telling you that what you know as the black community is done. It's over with. It is. So we'll be showing a lot more things of, what we're doing. But I want to close out with this, something I almost forgot I wanted to show y'all, but I'm looking at my time. I'm like, man, I don't want to go too long, but I guess too late on that. But anyway, let me show you. This is the final thing I'm going to show you. What we're doing is, I talked about ChatGPT and the abilities that you're able to do, some of the things you're able to do. Okay. Let me go here. Let me just open one up here. Okay. All right. So let me open this up on the screen and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I'm going to show you what we've done. All right. So this is ChatGPT. This is kind of what it looks like. Very plain, right? All right. Create a content calendar. Let's see. Brainstorm, whatever. I can type in anything I want here. Let me see. Name me the top 10 figures in Black history or something like that. I don't know. You can type in anything you want and it's going to give you a result, right? I did one here where I said, and I was just playing around. I said, I asked it, I said, I'm looking to travel to Mexico City, blah, 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 whatever. And then it gives me details on travel arrangements and everything. And it tells me about different cities that are nearby and all that stuff. And it's personalized based on what I put in. Right. Okay. So that's one there. Okay. Let me see if I had another one here that I can show you. So you can personalize this stuff. So what I did basically is that I developed an app, a GPT, that is still building on what we did for Samba Tree. The name of this app is called Baba Herb Assistant. Let me show you here. I've called it the Baba Herb Assistant. Let me pull that up here. Let me see. All right, here we go. All right. Let me show you this real quick. All right. So this is what I built here. It's called the Baba Herb Assistant, and specializing in herbal remedies found in Africa and the Caribbean. All right. So what you're able to do here, what I did was I got a copy of one of Dr. Sebi's books. And what I told this thing is I said, using this as a baseline, I want you to give people information using this as a baseline. But I also, when you go out to the internet to get additional information, make sure you keep this general philosophy in mind. Okay. And what I want you to do is that every herb that you recommend, it has to come from either Africa or the Caribbean. Herbs are grown all over the place, but we want herbs that are indigenous to Africa and the Caribbean. All right. So what you can type in here is pretty much anything. And I gave some examples here. I said, what are the best herbs for high blood pressure? Can you recommend a meal plan for someone with diabetes? Can you tell me more about an alkaline diet? Or what are the fruits and vegetables I should avoid? All right. And I'm going to give you an example here in a moment. We'll just do a few here. And this is how we're going to close out this evening. OK, so let's see here. I'll just go with one here. I'll go with what are the best herbs for high blood pressure? All right. So I asked it. Is searching the knowledge base that we created, and we're going to be expanding this even more over time. And this is something that will be available, but you have to be a ChatGPT subscriber, and that's like $20 a month. So it's not going to be a ready for everybody. Everybody can access it, but this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of things that we need to be doing now, so that we're not lost in this whole revolution that's happening right now. So anyway, so here we go. So it's giving me the results here. I said, for managing high blood pressure naturally, Dr. Sebi recommends a range of cleansing herbs that are beneficial for hypertension. And then it gives all the herbs that Dr. Sebi recommends. All right. So now I can say, and then it says these herbs are part of a holistic approach to managing high blood pressure, emphasizing the importance of detoxification and revitalization to maintain health. Okay. And then it always puts on the end, make sure you consult with a licensed medical professional. Okay. And that's what we told it to do. That kind of way of covering yourself. All right. So I can say, what are some other herbs you would recommend? Okay. All right. So it's looking for it now. It's going through our database first, and then it's gonna it should go out on the internet too and pull out some more information. So it's running here a little bit slower than I wanted it to, but it's okay. Okay, so here we go. It appears I encountered a technical issue. Okay, based on Dr. Sebi. Okay, so let me see which one I recommend. Okay, so in addition, so it goes on and it says, here are some herbs beyond the listed Dr. Sebi recommendations for hypertension that are valued in traditional African and Caribbean herbal practices. Boom. So it's pulling from exactly where I want it to pull from. So you're able to see, so it's naming them: moringa, hibiscus, soursop, neem, garlic. It goes through a whole thing. All right. And then let's continue. So let me ask this. I'm going to say, can you put together for me a meal plan, a simple meal plan, that includes some of these herbs? Okay, I'll type that in there. Okay. So this is what people, if you got the information on what these herbs are and what they do, you may need help in, I just need a little help in with some meal plans I can put together. All right. So there you go. So we're going to ask it. So now it's saying creating a meal plan that incorporates beneficial herbs, and it goes on, right? So now it's giving me a meal plan. It's telling you what's in the ingredients are, which are the herbs that we inquired about that are beneficial for people who are suffering from high blood pressure, right? And it's also, now we're asking it, okay, I need help. I need additional help in, if you can put together a meal plan for me. So it's doing a whole meal plan based on the parameters that we set. And I'm going to tell you why we're doing this in a moment. Okay. So there you go. Here's my meal plan. I can print this out and I can use it for whatever. This is what we're bringing over to Samba Tree. So you can get some of this on Samba Tree, not all of it. It's going to take me a little bit of time to do this, but this is, is behind a paywall. So you're not going to be able to get to this. But this is what we're working on right now. This is what we have. And as you can see, it's fully functional. It's working. It's great. Okay. Now, why did I put something together like this? What do I see with this? I'll tell you what. Yeah. So it said you can get a downloadable ChatGPT app. Absolutely. But to access the apps, however, I'm talking about like the app I created, or GPTs, you won't be able to access that unless you get the paid version. You can get ChatGPT on your phone, but if you want to access the GPTs that people like me and others have created, you're going to have to pay for it. That's just how they have it set up. Okay. Now, why did I set this up? Why did I do something like this? I'll tell you why and what this does and what I'm kind of the vision for it behind it. Number one, what our goal is, as far as Samba Tree is concerned, is that we want to see our people in wholeness and health, and in every part of their lives. We also want our people to understand just how rich your history is and tapping back into that, and your those good cultural practices and traditions that we had. And part of that is how we ate and how we took care of ourselves. And so what this does, it serves as a reminder to our people to stop going to white man medicine. You don't have to do that anymore. Everything we need as a people for us to live a good, healthy life, it grows literally right in our own backyards in many cases. And so what this will do is that now our people who are using this will know, hey, listen, we got an answer right here. There's herbs that grow right in Africa, or there are herbs that grow right in Central and South America where our people are, or throughout the Caribbean. And now you have it where we're pulling our own medicine from our own people. And the next thing we're working on is how to connect our people with the growers. Because you got a lot of people in these regions that grow this stuff, or it's easily accessible in their own backyards. Well, we need to start matching those people with our people so that we have our network where we can start passing this stuff along, and none of y'all don't have to go to the hospital anymore or go to these doctors, because you already got your own health care network. You don't need that healthcare network. People be losing their minds because I lost my health insurance. I understand the feeling on that. I get that, but we don't need that. You can literally do this right this second. So I'm not talking. I'm just in the background. I'm just like, I'm just going ahead and build it. Talking to some people who are already doing it too. We're going to get together and we're going to figure out some more things. And we're just doing. We're not going to talk. We've been stopped talking. And now it's time to do it, because so this is an example of how you use this technology to be a benefit. But we also, with ethics, you got to draw the line on how far you want it to go. So, there's certain things you can say, hey, listen, I'm not giving all that information. You understand what I'm saying? That's where you got to draw the line. But this is an example here of how this technology can be used so that we're getting the solutions ourselves, right? And we're also empowering other people as well so that they can grow their own businesses. If they for years probably been just staring at these weeds in their backyard, got acres and acres of moringa trees, and they just like, I don't know what to do with these things. But meanwhile, we got people in this part of the world that are suffering from things like high blood pressure or baldness. And all we got to do is say, hey, listen, can you tell these, chop them trees down or get those leaves or whatever and sell them things, and, and let's go. Let's create our own network. We can do it. So these are the kind of things I'm showing you, and I want to share that with you just so you can see. So we got Samba Tree, and then we're going to bring, Samba Tree and that. We're going to start incorporating more of that technology in the Samba Tree as well, so that when you come to the page, because it's more, for me, Samba Tree is more than just you come and you buy things and then that's it. It's got to be a full experience. It's got to be a resource, an information resource where you can come, even if you're not going to buy something. It's a place where you can go to get the information you need so that you can improve your health and your wellness. And that's really what the goal is about what we're doing with Samba Tree. Tomorrow I'll let you know, because like I said, this is going a lot longer than I wanted to, but what I'll be doing is I'm going to be writing articles. I'm going to start writing some articles. You've seen the posts I've done, but I'm going to start honing in on a particular topic, and I'm going to be talking more about what I just shared with you, technology and health with an African perspective, from an African historical perspective, and why it's so important for us to return to that, recognizing, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be, in these series of articles, going back to thousands and tens of thousands of years ago, the technology. I'm going to talk about the technologies that we had, that we used and all of that. I'm going to look at the different health and techniques that the mothers, used to use when a woman was about to give birth, practices and stuff like that was being done in Africa, and why we need to make sure that we learn from those things. If there's some adjustments that need to be made, we can make those adjustments, but those are things that we can't forget. We got to stop thinking that every time we get sick or we have a cough, we got to run and get a freaking needle in our arm. We can start doing these things ourselves. And so what we're committed to is to understanding how to use this technology so that we can accelerate ourselves back to that place. But at the same time, when we need to talk in our code language, we got a back channel. Bondtube.com, mybondtube.com. Yeah. So that's being incorporated in that too, because with my Bondtube, we need that, so that there's certain things ChatGPT ain't going to allow us to talk about. And we're like, okay, cool. Then we'll build our own stuff so that we can talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on, behind the scenes. Some things are on slow cooker, other things are in the frying pan, but we are moving forward. So I know this was a whole lot that we discussed tonight, but I thought it was, both of these topics are very, very important, especially when we talk about the importance of having a code of ethics. Because if we can't establish that in our homes first, then I'm telling you, I cannot emphasize this enough. I'm telling you that it's already a wrap for many of our people, And so I've been telling our adult children now, in addition to working your jobs, familiarize yourself with this technology, because these employers, a lot of them, they're not really at the ready on it yet. But you want to set up yourself up as the SME and a subject matter expert on it, because there's a lot of people who just kind of like, whatever, but you don't be that person. And that's what I told them. So I'm on them. So anyway, I guess it went pretty well tonight. If you have any questions or anything like that, hey, just feel free to drop it in the comment section, and or you can email me. That's connect@journeymanandwoman.com. Connect@journeymanandwoman.com. Maybe I'll I'll do some more images tonight. Okay, I'll put some more images up for you, and in the near future, I'll show you some of them the animations too. So when I tell you we're firing on all cylinders here, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. It's a lot going on here, and love the opportunity where we can stop by and kind of share some of this stuff with you. We love you guys very much. Thank you for joining us for this broadcast. You guys take care, and I'll see you again soon. Take care now.